On March 31, 2025, the Pentagon quietly uploaded 50 UAP videos to the AARO website, the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office. This came weeks after President Trump signed an executive order on February 21st, directing federal agencies to declassify UAP-related records within 300 days. Tells a more complicated story. 50 videos, some compelling, most frustratingly ambiguous, and critical questions about what remains locked behind classification walls. Let's be specific about what the Pentagon released. The 50 videos span encounters captured by military sensors, forward-looking infrared cameras, electro-optical systems, and shipboard radar-linked imaging. Most are brief. Many show indistinct objects, bright points of light, dark shapes against cloud cover. Pentagon officials characterized the majority as likely conventional: drones, balloons, commercial aircraft at unusual angles. But several defy easy explanation. At least 3 clips show objects exhibiting what analysts describe as rapid acceleration, moving from near stationary to extreme velocity with no visible propulsion signature. In 2 cases, the objects appear to simply vanish mid-frame, not moving out of sensor range, but disappearing from tracking entirely. The rapid acceleration cases deserve scrutiny. Independent analysts, including those at the Scientific Coalition for UAP Studies, have attempted frame-by-frame velocity calculations on the released footage. One object appears to accelerate from approximately hovering to an estimated several hundred knots in under 2 seconds, with no sonic boom reported by the observing crew. For context, an F-18 Super Hornet at full afterburner produces a clearly detectable infrared bloom during acceleration. These objects show none. The Pentagon's official assessment: insufficient data to determine origin. That phrase appears repeatedly across the case files. It's technically honest, but critics argue it's also strategically evasive, acknowledging the anomaly while refusing to engage with its implications. The 50 videos didn't arrive in isolation. They accompanied a broader release of 222 files, documents, photographs, and reports spanning from the 1940s to the present. This historical dump includes material from Project Blue Book era investigations, Cold War period military encounters, and more recent cases forwarded to AARO. Some documents reference physical trace evidence, ground impressions, radiation readings, electromagnetic interference with military equipment. A 1967 case file describes a luminous object observed simultaneously by 3 separate military radar installations, tracked at speeds exceeding Mach 5 before vanishing from all screens within the same 2-second window.
The official conclusion at the time: unknown. Nearly 60 years later, it remains so. Here's where the tension sharpens. The Pentagon has maintained a consistent position. No evidence of extraterrestrial origin has been found. AARO's 2024 historical review stated this explicitly. Director John Kozlowski, who took over the office in mid-2024, reiterated the finding. But this claim requires careful parsing. No evidence of extraterrestrial origin is not the same as "we've identified what these are." Of the cases AARO has reviewed, a significant percentage remain categorized as unresolved. The Pentagon is effectively saying, we don't know what they are, but we know what they aren't. Several members of Congress have publicly questioned whether that logical framework holds up. The whistleblower testimony remains the most explosive element. David Grusch, a former intelligence officer, told Congress under oath in July 2023 that the U.S. government possesses retrieved non-human craft and biological materials. He alleged illegal programs operating without proper congressional oversight. Grusch has not recanted. In December 2024, journalist Michael Shellenberger reported that sources within the intelligence community claim the most compelling UAP evidence, including high-resolution imagery and sensor data far superior to what's been publicly released, remains compartmented in special access programs. Luis Elizondo, former head of AATP, stated in his 2024 memoir and public appearances that the released videos represent, in his words, the least impressive material in the government's possession. The classification question is structural, not incidental. The UAP Disclosure Act, championed by Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer in 2023, would have created an independent review board with authority to declassify UAP records, modeled on the JFK Assassination Records Act. Key provisions were stripped during House negotiations under reported pressure from defense contractors and intelligence community lobbyists. What survived was diluted. The result: the executive branch retains sole authority over what gets released. Trump's February 2025 order creates a deadline, but agencies can request exemptions for national security. And here lies the core problem. If the most compelling evidence involves sensor capabilities the military doesn't want adversaries to understand, there's a legitimate, if frustrating, reason to withhold it. But whistleblowers allege the classification isn't protecting methods, it's protecting secrets about the phenomena themselves. Consider the forensic gap. The released videos are largely single sensor captures, one camera angle, limited resolution, brief duration. Military encounters, according to multiple pilot witnesses, including Commander David Fravor and Lieutenant Ryan Graves, typically involve corroborating data, radar tracks from multiple platforms, satellite coverage, electronic warfare suite detections, and cockpit audio.
Almost none of this corroborating material has been released for any case. The 50 videos are, in analytical terms, stripped of context, the very context that would allow independent scientists to conduct rigorous analysis. Whether this is bureaucratic caution or deliberate information control depends on whom you ask, but the effect is the same. The public receives just enough to sustain interest, never enough to reach conclusions. Here's where we stand. The Trump administration's transparency push has produced the largest single release of UAP material in history. That's real. But forensic examination reveals releases carefully curated to avoid the most provocative cases. The historical files confirm the government has tracked unexplained phenomena for over 80 years. Whistleblowers with security clearances and sworn testimony insist the public picture is radically incomplete. The 300-day clock from Trump's executive order runs through late November 2025. What emerges or doesn't before that deadline may define whether this era is remembered as genuine disclosure or as the most sophisticated management of the UAP issue yet attempted. The data released so far proves one thing clearly. Something is there. The question that remains classified is what?